This is the 2014 Ford Focus SE, a car that was supposed to take on the Civic and Corolla, offering sharp handling, a premium interior, and great fuel economy. Ford had the chance to make a solid, affordable compact car. Instead, they gave us a rental fleet special with one of the worst transmissions in modern history. This is the story of a car that could have been great, but instead it became a masterclass in how to ruin a good platform with terrible engineering decisions. Let's start with the design, because despite everything wrong with this car, I can't actually roast the way it looks. For a compact sedan or hatchback, it's not bad. It has lines, it has shapes. It looks like someone at Ford actually put effort into it, which is already more than you can say about most compact cars. Compare this to the 2014 Corolla, which looks like a loaf of bread, or the Civic, which at the same time is going through its awkward, uninspired phase. At least the Focus looks like it belongs in this decade. You even got different trims, including the Focus Titanium, if you wanted to pretend this car was a luxury vehicle, and the ST if you wanted a turbocharged hot hatch that torque steered like it was trying to escape your grip. And stepping inside, here's where things get weird. The Focus actually had one of the nicest interiors in the compact car segment at the time. Ford gave us soft touch plastics, a well-designed dashboard, and even a Sony sound system if you opt for it. It was legitimately nicer than a Civic or a Corolla in 2014. But that's where the praise ends, because then we get to the tech, specifically MyFord Touch system. And if you have ever used the system, you already know where this is going. This SE wasn't equipped with it, but this was Ford's attempt at making a futuristic infotainment system. What we got instead was a laggy, unresponsive mess that makes you question the concept of progress. You press a button and wait, and sometimes it just doesn't work at all. Ford eventually issued an update to fix it, and by fix, I mean they made it less terrible. But it's still one of the worst infotainment systems of its time. Now let's get into the mechanical disaster that defines the 2014 Ford Focus SE, the PowerShift transmission. On paper, it sounds great. A dual clutch automatic designed to improve fuel economy while delivering lightning fast shifts, like a performance car. In reality, it was one of the worst transmission designs ever sold to the public. But why? Why did Ford do this? It wasn't because they wanted to make your life miserable. No. It was for fuel economy numbers. Back in the early 2010s, manufacturers were desperate to hit new MPG targets without spending money on hybrid tech. A traditional automatic transmission? Too much power loss. A CVT? Too expensive to develop at the time. So Ford, in their infinite wisdom, borrowed a page from high-performance sports cars and slapped a dry clutch, dual clutch transmission into an economy car. Here's the problem. Dry clutch, dual clutch transmissions work great in high-performance cars without proper engineering. But in a mass-market commuter, it's a disaster. The dry clutches overheat in stop-and-go traffic, the engagement is jerky, and the software that controls it is about as refined as a 2002 AOL dial-up connection. So, congratulations, Ford. You made a budget commuter that shifts like a 16-year-old learning manual on a hill. If you bought this car new, you became part of a real-world beta test for Ford's bad engineering decisions. And if you're buying one used, the real question is, how much suffering are you willing to tolerate? To Ford's credit, Ford did try to fix it. Multiple software updates, recalls, warranty extensions, you name it. But no matter how much they try to patch it, this transmission was already a time bomb. And when it finally dies, get ready to drop at least $2,000+ to fix it, assuming you even bother. The only way around this, get the manual. Because if you do that, the Ford actually becomes one of the best driving cheap compact cars out there. But let's be honest, most people didn't do that. And here's the real tragedy. If you ignore everything I just said, the Focus is actually a great commuter car. It gets up to 40 mpg on the highway, and if you find the SFE trim, you'll squeeze even more mileage out of it. That is, of course, assuming your transmission actually lets you get to your destination. But if you live in a city with stop-and-go traffic, this car will make you regret every life decision that led you to buying it. Because that's when the PowerShift transmission is at its worst. So yes, it's fuel efficient, but at what cost? So aside from the transmission, what else goes on with the 2014 Ford Focus? A lot. Fuel system failures, where the engine randomly stalls because of a bad canister purge valve. And power steering issues. One day you'll start the car and suddenly you have a manual steering rack. Door latch failures. If you like the idea of your doors randomly flying open, you'll love this feature. Now again, Ford did issue recalls for most of these problems. So before buying one, you need to run the VIN and make sure it's been fixed. Otherwise, you're basically just inheriting a project car you never wanted. So should you buy a used 2014 Ford Focus? If it's the manual, sure. It's actually fun to drive. If it's the automatic, run. Just run. This car had so much potential, and Ford completely ruined it with one of the worst transmissions ever put in a mass market vehicle. And now it's mostly found in used car lots and rental fleets, waiting for its next victim. So if you see one for sale at a great price, ask yourself, why is it so cheap? And is it worth the headaches? I'll let you decide. But for me, I'd rather walk.